What it do. Today I want to talk about making the switch. And what I mean with making the switch is, everybody got these self-improvement ideas and everybody does some type of form of self-improvement. And I'm speaking out of own experience, but for a long time, even for me, it seemed like, okay, you do the self-improvement, but you cannot really make the switch. With the switch, I mean, like, you cannot really become the embodiment of self-improvement instead of doing the act of self-improvement, right? It's either in your identity or you're just, some people are just reading books and just talking about self-improvement, and so some people are just waking up and being self-improvement every day, right? And today we're going to talk about that, and today we're going to talk about what I learned from myself and why I think that it's so important to make that switch, because otherwise your self-improvement journey will always be so wishy-washy, because some days it will be good and then the rest of the days it won't be good because you cannot make the switch, right? So what I noticed with making the switch is your heart doesn't lie. And what I mean by that is your heart creates a certain rhythm, right? And you can think about, okay, self-improvement, but if your heart makes a certain rhythm that is in that is not in alignment with self-improvement, because your heart creates a rhythm, and that rhythm has like a frequency, right? And that frequency determines whether you're calm or you're this or that, right? And it is the small things that they don't want you to know that causes you to not make the switch, right? What I really noticed for me was listening to a certain type of music, right? Because sound is so important that sound is our first form of information, right? Whenever we're born, sound is what the first thing, because we have eyes, right? But even when you're young, a baby, the eyes don't work properly, right? It's sound that forms and shapes the heart at first. And that's also what you're doing with music, and that's why it's so important to not listen to certain type of music, because each time you're listening to, and even though I know how cool rap sounds, right, it is creating it is having an effect on you, and it is creating a rhythm that is irregular, right? And I don't say don't listen to rap, but if you want to live a certain lifestyle, you cannot do certain things, right? And you can listen to rap, right? But the thing is, what you listen to, you will become the embodiment of that, right? And how cool all those things sound, right? The guns and this and that, right? What you need to know is, whenever you feel like you need a gun to survive and you identify yourself with guns, gangs, and this and that, you're actually being fearful, and that's what your heart is also beating, right? You can lie and you can say all these things, but your heart beats a certain rhythm, and that's who you are, and that's what you is, and that you cannot escape that, right? So what I noticed, too, if you want to make the switch, start with sound. Start with listening to new music, different type of vibrations that allow you to think different, instead of just gang, 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 this and that, right? Because it's having such a negative effect on you, and it creates that feeling of loneliness, right? Because the thing is, your heart makes you connect to people, and if your heart beats in a certain way, right, which is not in alignment with a lot of people, then you won't socialize, because your heart determines, right? And that's why these self-improvement is so, if you focus on the words and the actions, it seems so difficult. But if you truly know the science of it, right, and if you know that it all comes down to your heart, then you notice that you have a lot of control over it. All you need to do is make sure that this beats in alignment with who you want to be, right? And And that's making a choice for yourself, right? If you don't want to live the life of a gangster, right, then why do you listen to that type of music to a point that it, when it gets you so hyped that you become the embodiment of that music, right? That's important, because now your rhythm is irregular, and your rhythm is cannot hold certain frequencies, because with fear is, we all want to be happy, but your heart needs to have a certain amount of power to even carry the frequency of happiness, right? You cannot just be happy. It don't work like that. You need to work for happiness, right? You need to embody happiness here, right? You need to be calm, collected, and just by doing certain things, you will never do that. And I would say start with music, right? And it's a lot of things that you should do, and no fap and all those things. Those things should all be done. But why I say that music is also very important is because I've done previous I kind of been on self-improvement since I was like 17, and then I did all those things, right? I was just reading books, working out, but I was listening still to a certain type of music, and that still kept me in a certain frame, in a certain state of mind, and my heart stayed in a certain rhythm, which didn't allow me to make the switch. And with the switch, I mean just waking up and doing the work just because you are that person, and not just because you read a self-improvement book. And that's why I say make the switch, make the change, because it starts with reading. It starts with just knowing the word self-improvement, this and that. But eventually you must become the embodiment, and nothing can be left out. You really need to cut down on all these things if you want to make the true switch, right? You cannot you gotta let things go, right? And certain type of music should be let go, because even if you think about it, music which promotes that another person is your enemy should never actually be listened to, because what you're listening to is, whenever you're listening to shooting somebody, you're listening to killing yourself, right? Because even if you look at your trigger finger, right? Your trigger finger, that is, you're being triggered, right? You're triggering yourself. You're triggering your own heart. That's why it's called your trigger finger, right? And that's why you never kill yourself, and that's why you should never listen to music which promotes killing. And it's also funny to me, because all these record labels, right, that promote this music, right, it's they know these things, and 9 out of 10 of these rappers don't even live the life, right? Don't even live that gangster life. Don't even kill people. And they definitely should not do that. But there are young people being actually influenced by that music to a point that they do those things. And it's never, I will never blame music, because, it's not that simple. It requires certain things that happen at home. You need to be raised in a certain environment for you to truly fall into that hard rhythm of that gangster lifestyle, and just the entire hard rhythm that comes with it, right? Because it is a entire frequency, it's entire thrill that comes out with that lifestyle, right? So, and that's why it's so important to not listen to those things, because you won't make the switch. And I noticed that with myself, right? You just listen to certain music, and how cool it is, because you always listen to it carries no content. Even if you listen to it, it carries no content. Some people just say dumb things, right? Just a couple days I was listening to music, and when you truly think for yourself, because we just go off the beat, right? The beat sounds cool, and whatever the dude raps, it rhymes, and it's cool, so we don't question those things. But you need to question those things. You need to question, like, bro. Like, why are you promoting killing? Like, why, you know, why do you promote pistols through a sense that is your identity, right? That's never what a man should be, right? So that is that is important to make the switch, sound, music, right? For this video, I'm gonna just keep it simple. Music, right? Certain, just listening to certain music won't allow you to make the switch. You won't become a different person if you stay listening to a certain type of music, because for you the music carries a lot of connotations. If you grew up in that environment, right, where gangster music is the most prevalent music provided to you, then you have a lot of memories to that, and each time you listen to that, parts of your brain are activated and you're in a crazy state, and your reality becomes that. And that's why we, as people that come from a certain environment where things maybe like such as shootings and stabbings happen, for us it's so important to not listen to that music, because it has so much more effect to it, because we're truly listening to our environment. So each time you're listening to it, you're saying to yourself, yeah, this is the environment that I live in, right? This is the environment that I belong in. It doesn't matter that you live in it, right? But just know that it's not your identity. Just know that it's not where you belong, right? As a human being. So that's just so important, and you really need to notice, because even how boring classical music and things is, right? It is so much better for your heart, because the rhythm is not irregular. Whatever they say is not stupid and things like that, right? That's why it's also certain people just like can listen to gangster rap and it has no influence to them. Why? Because they don't come from that environment, so their memories are not um are not into the music, right? Certain parts of the brain stay dormant while they're listening to that music, because they cannot relate to it, right? Whenever you can relate to it, it becomes your reality, and you stay in that, right? So and that's just surface level, right? You don't even want to know how dark the music scene is, right? A lot of music is just made to keep, to make you keep listening to that, to make you keep not believing in yourself, basically, to make you keep reliving certain negative emotions, so that you can, like we say, never make the switch, never believe in your true power, right? Because you always listening to the music which promotes a certain lifestyle, so that you never have the time to think about, yo, what should my lifestyle actually be, right? So, and that's also why in Islam and things like that, right, music is actually illegal. And I don't say that music should be illegal, because I think you should also listen to music, just certain music, right? You cannot just listen to everything and think that it won't have an effect on your brain, because, bro, even if you if you think about it, right, like you're putting these earphones in your ears, right? You're putting them literally into your body. So whatever comes out of those earphones, bro, will be reflected in here. So, and I noticed that with myself. Whenever I listen to some gangster rap, bro, and I go to the gym, bro, I won't be the same. I won't be the same. I won't be that social. I will fall into a state of, because, like I said, right, for certain people, there is parts in that music which is really our previous lifestyle, or what we have seen when we grew up, and then that music is kind of like an addiction, right? And whenever you listen to that music, all the parts of your brain, where you do the self-improvement with and things like that, right, you throw that out of the window, and you just go back to that old state of just being enthralled and fully in that adrenaline state, no calmness, just listening to the music and being hyped up by somebody telling, pull up, shooting, boom, boom, bam. So that's so important. Music is real important, and like, this still for me is an experiment, but I'm gonna do for now. I'm gonna at least for 30 days I'm not gonna listen to any gangster rap, right? I'm not gonna do that, and because I already seen how it influenced me, but I never seen the effect if you don't listen to it at all, right? So that's what I will do, and I will keep y'all updated, right? But this is just what I learned, because your heart rhythm, that frequency, all those things are very real, right? And sound has the power to heal or destroy DNA, make sure that certain DNA just stays dormant, or that certain DNA is not activated, that certain parts of your brain are not activated. So that's why it's so important, and especially if you're young, because what happens is 9 out of 10 times we're exposed to that gangster rap before we were even able to think, right? We were listening to certain things when we were like 7, so you cannot even think. So you were hearing about pistols and this, like this and that, and all the people in your environment listen to it, so you automatically think, yo, this is the way lifestyle. So you don't even question it. So the only thing you're doing is being programmed off the music, right? It's a different thing if you listen to gangster rap as a 20-year-old conscious person than as a 7-year-old boy. And that's why, for me, basically whenever I listen to the gangster rap, right, it is the entire spectrum of when I grew up, right? When you first listen to your first gangster rap, I don't even know how old I was, right? That was all the music that was always around me. So then you hear that, right? So you just hear that, and then you cannot even think about it. So for me, when I listen to it, it's different than somebody who never listened to those things when they were young, and they are 20 as well. They can question it. Why? Because it is not programmed in their brain before they were able to do their own processing, right? And that's why it's so important. That's why you see young kids, bro. If you see the young kids with the music, it has so much effect on them, because they're not in a state yet where they can dissect the music and think like, yo, is this truly music that you should be listening to, right? But that's just the video for today. Music, right? Know what you're listening to, because it creates your reality. And whenever you're listening to boom boom bang, just know that is happening with your heart. Whenever you hear somebody killing, you're killing your own heart, right? Because an idea of hurting somebody else, right, without about stupid shit such as gangs and this and that and this and that, should never take place in the mind, right? And that's why I like Buddhism, right? Because this is the temple, bro. Why do you bring killing to the temple? It doesn't make no sense. And then you expect to make certain change, because I'm not talking to people that want to be on the streets. I don't talk for people like that, bro. I'm somebody. I will never be a preacher. I don't walk on the street with Bible saying, live this lifestyle, be a positive person. No, I'm just talking about people. You want to make a change in your life? This is who I'm speaking for. If you want to be a gangster, bro, listen to all you want, bro. I would say, bro, just put Lil Durk in your ear 24/7. Do whatever he says. He doesn't do those things, though. I'm not gonna lie, right? And that's not even a diss, but they don't even have the time to do those things, bro. Those people have millions now, and they're rapping about certain parts, right? It might used to be their lifestyle, but what they're now just doing is promoting past acts, but still influencing the future with it, even though they now live in Hollywood and things like that, but they still rapping a certain way, right? they still rapping a certain way, which influence people to live a life that they no longer live, right? Or some people, some gangster rappers ain't even never lived it, right? Never. But that's a different part of the story, right? But so I'm not saying don't listen to it, but if you want to make the switch, you cannot listen to it. If you know what you want out of life, right? If you know for yourself that you want to be a gangster, that's okay. Then I would say listen to that music, because it goes both ways, right? Whenever I was listening to gangster rap, and that's your entire environment, what you notice, each year you become a harder person, you become more street, you become more this and that, more gangsta, however you want to call it. But the same goes for positive things, right? If you put positive things in your ear, right, you're gonna be more positive, and you're gonna be, because the thing is, bro, like, the gangster things are now tempting when you're young, but old gangsters are never cool, right? The only old gangsters that are seen as cool are the people that are the big drug dealers, but 9 out of 10 people don't become that. They just become like the street dudes, right, that are keeping up to an image of their self when they were teens, when they had all the street cred and the girls, or when they were in their young 20s, and now they're just old, right? And that's where you will end up with that street shit. You will become just lonely. Why? Because eventually life puts you in situations where you need to grow up. But like I've said, you cannot make the switch if you never made the switch in here, right? You just put all this bullshit in here, right? Now you have growing responsibilities, but you cannot act on them. You cannot learn people nothing. You cannot even be you cannot even be a good father, because in here it's not going well, right? In here it's all chaos, it's all chaotic. So that's the video. Sound, bro. Start with music. Be conscious of where you want to be, and then you need to think for yourself, like, is this music good for wherever I want to be? Does this portray the image of where I want to be? If it's no, leave it out, right? And test it out for yourself, how you can heal your heart by doing those things, by not listening to it and replacing it with positive music. Just, bro, that was just a couple days ago. I was just thinking, bro, I came from the gym, and I was feeling lonely. I'm not gonna lie. I was feeling lonely because I was running on a certain state, which was that aggressive state, that gangster state. But deep down, right, I wanted to be a different person. I was thinking for myself, like, bro, I need to do something because it's not working. So I was like, okay. And I just Googled, because I knew that song through some words, and it was like, don't worry, be happy. And that's, bro, if you listen to that music, bro, it will have such a big effect on you, right? It will have such a big effect on you. Same as how the gangster music has such a big effect on you. The same, because it's just science, right? The drill rap is bad because it's sound information. But good music is good. Why? Because it's also sound information, but just on a different spectrum. And that's why I say, bro, like, I'm not gonna blame drill rap for nothing. It's just, where do you want to be in life as a person? If you want to be a gangster driller, do listen to that music. If you want to make a switch and really change your life, you cannot do certain things no more, right? And one of that is putting violence into your ears, violence into your body, and going onto the street with a heartbeat that's violent and in fear, because you're listening to fearful state, you're listening to fearful people, bro. People that telling you about these guns and things like that, they cannot use their hands. They probably don't even feel like man, and you're listening to them. That's coming into your heart. And these people are, these people are, and have some of those have never hit the gym, right? Some of those people have never hit the gym. They can only use their trigger finger, right? They don't go on the street if they don't have their gun, because they don't feel man enough, right? So that shows you're listening to fearful people. You're listening to people that, are so fearful that they have the feeling if somebody takes some of their street cred, they need to end that person's life and things like that, right? That's what you're listening to. That's what you're becoming. So be mindful of that. Know where you want to be, and know that it's not that music is sound information, right? And information, it forms your inner being. Like I said, you're putting these earphones in you, and whatever comes out of it, it will form everything within, bro. It will form everything within. So good music will influence you positively, and bad music will influence you bad, but it's just choices, right? It's not for me to be the preacher or the pastor to say that bad music is actually bad in a way that it's bad, right? It's just bad in a way that it's different on the spectrum of positivity. So it's all about choices, right? There is no good or bad. There's only where you want to be in life. So I thank you for watching this video, and know what you put in your ears and be mindful of it. I'm out.